Hello, and welcome to Shake Library's Evaluating Resources video. When doing research for a paper, project, or just for your own information, it's important to evaluate the source of the information to determine whether or not it is trustworthy. You do not want to quote something only to find out later that the information was not true. That would not look good on a homework assignment. So how do you know what sources to trust? Try using the CRAAP test. Ask yourself, is my resource CRAAP? CRAAP, spelled C-R-A-A-P, is an acronym used to remind yourself to look for 5 things to determine if your resource is reliable: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Currency, the timeliness of the information. If your resource is online, check to see when the information was posted. Has the information been recently revised or updated? Is the information current, or is it out of date? If it is a website, are the links functional? If a website has several broken links, that could be a sign that no one is keeping the page up to date. Does it matter when a resource was written? Well, it depends on the subject matter. First-hand accounts of an event, which can also be called primary sources, can be more accurate than someone who comments on the event at a later date. With subjects that are always changing and progressing, such as science, technology, and medicine, it may be better to use the most recently written resources. For example, if you're writing a paper on how to treat cancer, you probably do not want to use a book written in the 1950s, as medical practices have greatly changed over the years. Relevance, the importance of the information for your needs. Does the information from your resource relate to your topic or answer your question? Who is the intended audience? Is the information at an appropriate level? Is it written for children, or is it too scholarly and advanced for your needs? Have you looked at a variety of sources before determining that this is the best resource to use? As a student, you're going to want to use resources that you are willing to stand behind. You want your paper to basically say, "Look, I know what I'm talking about because I've quoted the best resources." If you're giving a speech or presentation, it may be fun to show a clip of a popular show to introduce your topic. For example, if you're talking about the history of the American Revolutionary War, you could show a clip from a Sesame Street sketch. However, you would not want that Sesame Street sketch to be your main source of information for your academic speech or paper. Authority, the source of the information. Who wrote the resource you're quoting? Who published it or sponsored it? Is it from a source you can trust? Are the author's credentials or organizational affiliations given? What are the author's credentials or qualifications? Are they considered an expert in the subject that they're writing about? Once again, if you quote someone, you want to be able to say, "Look, I know what I'm talking about because I've quoted the best experts on this subject." For example, say you're writing a research paper on butterflies for a biology class. Your grandma Betty just loves butterflies so much that she even has a blog about it, but she's never taken a class about them or has any scientific degrees. Should Grandma Betty be your main source of information for your paper? No, of course not. Instead, you should quote a scientific professional or someone who has scientific degrees and experience in the appropriate fields. Accuracy, the reliability, truthfulness, and correctness of the content. Where did the information from the resource you're using come from? Is it supported by evidence? Has it been reviewed by editors or other experts? Can you verify any of the information in another source? Often in college, professors will ask you to use peer-reviewed sources for your assignments. What is peer-reviewed? Peer review is the process by which an author's peers read and evaluate a paper or article submitted for publication and recommend whether the paper should be published, revised, or rejected. For example, if a doctor wrote an article for a medical journal, who would that doctor's peers be? Other doctors and medical professionals. Do you think it's important for research, especially research in scientific and medical fields, to be peer-reviewed? The answer, of course, is yes. Peer-reviewed resources go through a strict review process and are only published when they meet specific standards. In other words, peer review is a way you know a resource has been verified by experts and can be trusted. Purpose, the reason the information exists. Why was this book, website, resource created? What is the purpose of the information? Do the author's sponsors make their intentions clear? Is this information fact, opinion, or propaganda? Is it objective, impartial, and unbiased? If someone is trying to sell you something, are they going to give you all the facts up front? Maybe not. If you're writing a research paper on the history of the American Revolution, you could quote the popular Broadway musical Hamilton, but you would not want it to be your main source of information. A source like Hamilton may include a lot of historical details, but the purpose of it is to entertain, not to inform, so facts may be changed to put on a better show. Be sure that your information comes from a source that you can trust to have factual information. Remember, before you use a resource for information, ask yourself, is my resource CRAAP? And check for these 5 things: currency, relevance, authority, accuracy, and purpose. Checking for these things will help you find the best resources for your research needs. If you want to learn more about Shake Library and the services we offer, visit our website at viinu.libguides.com/shakelibrary or call or email us. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you soon at Shake Library.